This one is the Lizard Lighthouse Order Book, and the first entry is the 10th of April 1878. The keepers are to be exercised occasionally in transferring from the electric to the oil light. Then 1879, June the 13th. Visited from the Galatea with the annual supplies by Captain Nisbet. Looks like yellow and burn. Found one foghorn fire banked up and in 7 minutes had a blast. Gauges up to 17 and down to 15. The second blast gauge up to 25 and down to 21.5. Third blast gauges up to 32 and down to 27. Applied a match to the cold fire and had a blast in 29 minutes, gauges up to 42 and down to 35. August the 16th, 1879, visited from the Siren by Captains Nisbet and Shuttleworth to inquire into the cause of the light being extinct on the 5th and 14th of July. That on the 5th was caused by failure in the electric current, and on the 14th by the coke choking in the hopper. November the 23rd, 1880. Visited this light establishment for annual repairs and to investigate charge made against supernumerary Mumford. And that's from a Tregarthen superintendent. Looks like I.N. Tregarthen. January the 29th, 1881. Visited the Lizard for the purpose of ascertaining position of spar, and in brackets, supposed to be the mast of a steamer, showing at low water off the Stag Rocks. June the 28th, 1882. To make arrangements about landing paraffin from the Wolf tender. August the 10th, 1882. Visited this establishment from Penzance to investigate cause of the wreck Mosel. Found fog signal was working at the time of the accident. April the 19th, 1883. The signal DNS, Delta November Sierra. Is there anything to prevent landing? Is in future to be understood to mean, is it safe to land? To be answered by the affirmative or negative pennant. August the 21st, 1883. Number 8 lower prism in number 1, second panel of the optical apparatus of the West Tower broken across at middle. Douglas. October the 9th, 1883. Visited this establishment to inspect crack in prism in West Tower, reported by engineer in charge. Find it is not at all detrimental to the exhibition of the light. The prism was cracked on the 20th of September, cause unknown. November the 23rd, 1883. Visited this lighthouse with Mr. Seymour of Porthleven, in brackets representative of the contractors for the supply of coke, to investigate complaint of engineer in charge of the quality of coke supplied. September the 9th, 1884. Visited to ascertain the quantity of coke which can be stored now at the lighthouse, also to endeavour to find accommodation in the village for the part of a cargo of 150 tons which cannot be stored here. February the 25th, 1885. To investigate cause of complaint against assistant keepers. June the 8th, 1885. Fog signal at work, brackets, having been working 54 hours consecutively. August the 18th, 1885. examined the number 8 lower prism, in brackets panel 1.2, in the East Tower. This prism was broken through the centre on the 25th of June last. The damage appears to have been caused, as in previous cases, by a piece of molten carbon falling on it. The change from electric to oil light accomplished in 2 minutes, but to effect this it is necessary that the supply pipe be always charged with oil. Level of the micrometer valve under the burner. Douglas. October the 20th, 1885. Visited at 4 p.m. on return from Scilly to London. Tested the change from the electric to oil light in East Lantern. This accomplished in 1 3/4 minutes. Observed the flashes of the Wolf, brackets after sunset, for a considerable time. Found the intensity of the white and red flashes very evenly balanced. December the 11th, 1885. Visited to investigate charge of negligence against keepers on the morning of the 3rd instant. Tregarthen, Superintendent. 19th of August, 1886. Mr. Robertson in charge in place of Mr. Corr on leave. September the 29th, 1886. To investigate matter of fog siren after wreck Suffolk. Found everything satisfactorily. Lights burning well. Fog signal keeping good time. April the 18th, 1889. Visited the station at the request of the board to investigate the charge of misconduct against the assistant keepers and to report fully to them. Reading, Superintendent. May the 7th, 1889. Visited at request of the board to severely reprimand the assistant keepers for their misconduct in leaving the station after sunset and to inform E. Nicholas that he will be transferred to Dungeness Lighthouse as an example to the other keepers. Reading. May the 11th, 1889. Assistant Keeper N.H. Jaffa, looks like, may shift into number 2, just vacated by E. Nicholas, who is being transferred to Dungeness. May the 22nd, 1889, visited at request of the board to report on the best arrangements for the accommodation of Mrs. Nicholas, wife of E. Nicholas, transferred to Dungeness Lighthouse, his wife owing to ill health being unable to travel. November the 1st and 2nd, 1889, found the additional caloric engine for the fog signal completed. Tested this when working the siren. Found both very efficient, except that the pitch of both notes requires to be lowered a little, and the automatic governor of the siren requires further adjustment. Found the illuminating apparatus current and are in both towers very satisfactorily. Douglas. December the 23rd, 1889. Visited and inspected alterations and additions in progress to fog signal apparatus. Tested new siren with the improved arrangements of reducing valves and pipes. Found all very satisfactory, except that the siren was found to be slightly damaged by the high pressures at which it has occasionally been necessary to work it with. December the 28th, 1889. Visited with Mr. Redding, inspected damage to number 1 engine. The accident to this engine occurred at 04:10 a.m. on the 26th just, and as far as can be ascertained without any apparent cause. The beam appears to have broken off at the cylinder end, and the pressure under the piston carried the latter out and above the cylinder about 3 feet, thus breaking the cast iron, something or other, brackets. And in falling, the end of the right-hand bracket was driven through the bottom of the cistern, Have instructions for the broken portions to be dispatched immediately to Blackwall Workshops, Douglas. 6th of March 1893. Visited, and it looks like the steamer Gustanbitter stuck on the Stags at noon on the 6th, Reading. October the 29th, 1898. On eve of October the 14th, when the SS, looks like McChagan, was wrecked on the Manacle. It could be Mohegan, looks like M-O-H-E-G-A-U, Mohegan. And I've got the next one as 1900. List of fog marks inserted in accordance with a board letter dated the 20th of December 1899, number L4993. When the following marks are not clearly visible, the horn is to be sounded. By day, when the Melvin Rocks, Mine Here Rock, and Lloyd Signal Station are not clearly seen. By night, when strong rays issue from the lantern, and when vessels' lights are not clearly seen. List of painting to be done by the keepers annually in accordance with the board letter dated February the 17th, 1900, number L638. Painting. Lanterns externally and galleries, ditto internally, ditto staircases, service rooms, walls, all outside doors of towers, dwellings, engine room, oil room, dado of engine room, engines as required, air receivers inside and outside, all gales belonging to the station, flagstaff, pigsty loft doors, ladders and shed, scullery walls and ceilings. Varnishing, tower doors, passage doors, pedestal of lens, service room doors, engines as required. Lime washing, towers internally, passages, oil store, WCs and water tanks when cleaned out. November the 14th, 1902. The keepers have been this day cautioned not to make a playground of the passages leading between the towers. October the 1st, 1903. Visited by Captains Thompson, Bell, and it's got in brackets black with a question mark, could be Beatty. Anne Clark, accompanied by Lord Raleigh and Mr. Matthews, Engineer-in-Chief, on the installation of the single quick flashing light in the eastern tower in place of the two single fixed lights. 1st of June 1908. The workmen are now dismantling caloric engines and pulling down pigsties. May the 12th, 1910. Two of the prisms in Lens was chipped on the 26th of April by one of the V-blocks falling out of position whilst re-cleaning. W.H. Burgess, A.K. on watch. The light was out for 3 minutes on April the 23rd at 3:30 a.m. caused by the, and the next bit was unreadable, of number one engine becoming heated. And it looks like J.J. Cotter, assistant keeper on watch. And that's Williams, superintendent. November the 4th, 1918. I have recently reprimanded Assistant Keeper Cotter, as ordered by the board, with regards to his conduct and lack of respect to the engineer in charge, and any reoccurrence may seriously interfere with his promotion in the future. Williams, Superintendent. February the 26th, 1923. Looked into stock of coal, which is getting low. Senior Keeper Sibbott is back for 1 month to Bishop Rock Lighthouse. Reynolds, Superintendent. September the 2nd, 1924. White Star liner Bardi or Bordy, ashore just inside of the Manria Rocks. And that Manria is Maenrrer. January the 26th, 1925. Again, caution keepers on keeping a bad lookout. Reynolds. 19th of February 1921. Found good watch being kept in engine room by assistant keeper Lawrence. January the 27th, 1939. Checked GSS, that would be General Service Stores, and inventory on retirement of Mr. Cotter, Principal Keeper. Stores and books all in order and correct. Mr. Layton, Principal Keeper Trevose Lighthouse, has been appointed Principal Keeper to the Lizard. Jarrett, Superintendent. 1st of June 1939. Inspected the accumulation of useless gear in smithy and loft. Instructions given to Principal Keeper to sort it out and send it all the scrap of value to Penzance Depot for disposal. All the old pieces of broken iron to be dumped over the cliff. Oops, Jarrett. 9th of August 1943. Principal Keeper Layton has retired and left dwelling in good order. Principal Keeper Jolliffe has not yet arrived. That's Carfy, Superintendent. 5th of February 1945. Dampness is showing in ceilings of 2 bedrooms in the cottage of Assistant Keeper Jane, and this is being investigated. Carfy, Superintendent. 12th of May 1945. Exterior surfaces for painting have been prepared as well as possible. The use of distemper camouflage has caused much paint to crack. First coat of whitewash has been put on boundary walls. The lens winding motor, temporarily repaired and due for replacement, has failed again and has been repaired by the Principal Keeper, Mr. Jolliffe. Endeavours will be made to expedite the new motor. Mr. Olde, OLDE by the look of it, contractor, has still not repaired and re-erected bulk beacon, the contract for which was placed with him about 14 months. Efforts to expedite this will be maintained. Carfy, Superintendent. October the 6th, 1945. P.J. Wood, Assistant Keeper in Charge. White, Acting Superintendent. June the 10th, 1950. The main light was changed over to main supply on May the 11th and has been working satisfactorily since. Lighting in dwellings also switched to mains. Looks like R.B. Goodman, Superintendent. October the 12th, 1950. Visited station to inspect damage caused by fire at number 1 cottage. Fire started by contract painters burning off old paint on outside of window and interior of window frame catching light. Fire extinguished by keepers and NFS. Damage confined to windows and wall of bedroom on ground floor and to floor and wall of bedroom above. Goodman, Superintendent. May the 8th, 1953. Mr. Cooper, the Principal Keeper, is retiring on the 26th of the month. Goodman, Superintendent. August the 15th, 1953. Investigated complaint about lack of draft and bad burning of York seal cooker in number 2 dwelling. Instructed builder to fit new sleeve to chimney to make it 3 foot higher. March the 19th, 1954. Attended at Lighthouse immediately on receiving a call from Assistant Keeper Phillips that the engine room was on fire and fire service had been called. Found fire had been extinguished on arrival and NFS clearing up. Fire had been caused by exhaust pipes overheating in engine room floor channels. Fire extinguished by foam and also water from burnt pipe of circulating water, and water pumped in by the keepers. The chief officer of the fire brigade considers that the exhaust layout is very dangerous. I agree. The only apparent damage appears to be scorching of number 3 engine and number 2 old generator and paintwork near windows. Tested fog signal and found all in order. Goodman, Superintendent. May the 29th, 1954. The radio beacon mast has been completed. 1 magneto dynamo removed from engine room to Penzance store. Goodman, Superintendent. June the 14th, 1959. Principal Keeper of Wolf will shortly be vacating number 1 dwelling, and the hall and lobby should be entirely redecorated before the new Principal Keeper of Wolf takes over. 10th of March 1964. Keepers are making a commendable job of cultivating the old gardens near entrance. E.H. Harris, Superintendent. 22nd of May 1965. In particular, the gardens, now converted into lawns, give an impressive background. Gibbets or Tibbets. 18th of January 1989. Discussions held with all the station keepers to identify any problems associated with their future attendance duties at Longships, Wolf and Round Island automated stations. Barnes, Superintendent.